The sun had just begun to rise over the vast Serengeti plains, casting a golden hue across the grasslands. Morning mist clung lightly to the blades of grass, still cool from the night. The wide expanse stretched endlessly, interrupted only by scattered acacia trees and the gentle hum of life slowly waking up. Near a patch of tall grass, a pride of lions lay sprawled out, their bodies motionless except for the occasional flick of a tail or the twitch of an ear. They had hunted through the night and were now resting, bellies full, breathing deep and slow. The adult lions, majestic, powerful, lay protectively around the younger members of the pride. Among them was a cub, no older than a few months, still covered in soft, spotted fur. Its eyes were wide and full of curiosity, more alert than tired. The rest of the pride slumbered peacefully, but the cub was restless. It stood, stretched its tiny limbs, and took a few hesitant steps away from the warmth and safety of its mother's side. Drawn by instinct and wonder, the cub wandered toward a small thicket nearby. The grass there was taller, and shadows danced gently in the soft breeze. It paused for a moment, looking back to check if any of the adults had noticed. None had. Emboldened, it crept farther in. The thicket rustled lightly as the cub explored, sniffing the ground and swatting at insects buzzing around. A butterfly fluttered by, and the cub leapt clumsily after it, landing with a soft thud and a look of confused disappointment. For a moment, the world seemed to belong to the cub alone, its own wild playground. Back at the pride, one of the lionesses opened her eyes. Sensing something missing, her gaze swept the area until she spotted the cub's small shape in the grass. She didn't panic. Instead, she rose slowly, stretched, and made her way over with steady, deliberate steps. The cub, oblivious to any danger, had just discovered a beetle crawling along a rock and was completely fascinated by it. The lioness arrived and stood silently behind, watching her offspring's tiny adventure. Then, with a soft chuff, she announced her presence. Startled, the cub turned and looked up at her. Wide-eyed, the lioness nuzzled the cub gently, urging it back toward the pride. With a reluctant glance at the beetle, the cub followed, brushing up against its mother's side. As they returned to the resting group, the sun climbed higher, casting longer shadows and warming the earth. The pride shifted slightly, adjusting to the heat. The cub nestled back into the safety of its family, the thicket already fading into memory. The morning in the Serengeti carried on, quiet and calm. Life in the wild, even with its harsh rhythms and dangers, held moments like this, moments of peace, curiosity, and quiet connection. What had moments ago felt like a safe, sunlit morning in the Serengeti shifted in an instant. Hidden deep within the tall grass and tangled undergrowth, an African rock python, massive, silent, and patient, had been lying in wait. Coiled and still, it had watched the pride from a distance, sensing vibrations, calculating risk. The adults were too large, too dangerous, but the curious cub, straying on its own, that was opportunity. The cub had wandered just close enough, distracted by a beetle, nose almost brushing the ground. In a flash of movement too fast to avoid, the python struck. Its thick body launched forward with terrifying precision, wrapping itself around the cub before it could even process what was happening. The initial impact knocked the wind out of the little lion, and then the coils came, tight, brutal, unrelenting. The cub let out a sharp, panicked roar, high-pitched and full of pain. It kicked and squirmed, claws flailing, but the python's grip only tightened. Each movement triggered another squeeze. The cub gasped for air that wouldn't come. The brush trembled with the struggle, leaves rustling wildly as the snake adjusted its position, tightening each loop around the cub's fragile ribcage. Dust rose. A bird nearby took flight. Startled, back at the pride, the lioness froze. The sound had cut through the morning like a knife. She recognized it immediately. Not a call for attention, but a cry for help. Her head jerked toward the thicket, and in the next second, she was running. She reached the edge of the bushes in seconds. Just as the cub's cries weakened, the lioness didn't pause. She crashed through the undergrowth with all the force of a full-grown predator protecting her young. Her roar thundered across the plain. The python didn't release. It had its prey, and it was determined to finish what it had started. But this wasn't a safe ambush anymore. With a swipe of her paw, claws outstretched, the lioness slashed at the thick coils. She struck again, teeth bared, aiming for the snake's body. The python shifted, trying to defend itself and maintain its grip. But the lioness was relentless. Her roars grew louder, fiercer. Other members of the pride had risen by now. Alerted by the noise, a second lioness arrived, then a third. The python, outnumbered and wounded, began to retreat. It unwound itself slowly, hesitating, then slipped back into the brush, disappearing into the grass as silently as it had come. The cub lay still, gasping, weak but alive. The lioness nuzzled it, checked it carefully, then lay beside it protectively. Her body curled around her cub, shielding it from everything. The Serengeti was calm again. But not the same. The danger had passed. But the lesson remained, even in moments of peace. The wild never truly sleeps. The cub's desperate cries didn't only reach the pride. A short distance away, a team of wildlife rangers on patrol paused. Ears perked. The call wasn't normal. It was urgent. Filled with pain and panic. They exchanged a quick glance, then broke into a run toward the sound, pushing through the tall grass and low brush. The rangers moved fast. They knew the Serengeti. They knew the sounds of struggle, of life hanging by a thread. As they approached the thicket, the noise grew louder, snarling, crashing, and the unmistakable hiss of something large and cold-blooded. They reached the edge of the bush and stopped for a heartbeat. Stunned. Before them, a powerful African rock python had coiled tightly around a lion cub. A lioness, eyes wild with rage, was clawing at it, blood streaking her coat from her own scratches. The python, thick as a man's thigh, wasn't letting go. Its scales shimmered in the light, muscles rippling with each movement. The rangers jumped into action. One of them, the most experienced, pulled out a long wooden pole and moved in from the side. He jabbed hard at the snake's midsection, trying to wedge the stick between the coils and the cub's body. The python flinched, twisted, but kept its hold. Another ranger pulled out a metal canister, pepper spray used to deter predators when necessary. He aimed at the snake's head and sprayed a sharp burst. At the same time, another ranger turned on a loud siren-like sound from a handheld device, a noise used to startle aggressive animals. The combination was brutal on the senses. The snake hissed violently, its grip loosening slightly as it raised its head. Disoriented and threatened, the lioness backed off momentarily, giving the rangers room to work. The one with the pole managed to hook part of the snake's body and yanked hard. Uncoiling one loop, the cub let out another strangled cry. The python struck at the pole, fangs bared, but missed. The rangers didn't flinch. They kept working, jab, pull, spray, shout. It was chaos in close quarters. Dust flying, leaves breaking, bodies shifting fast in the confined space. Every second stretched long. The python, realizing it was outmatched, began to loosen more. It tried to retreat, but the rangers didn't give it the chance. With one last coordinated effort, they pried the final coil off the cub. The snake slithered backward in a panic, half blinded, fleeing into the dense bush as quickly as it had appeared. Silence followed. The lioness rushed to the cub, nuzzling and licking it anxiously. The cub, though shaken and injured, was breathing. The rangers stood still for a moment, catching their breath, adrenaline still high. One of them quietly radioed in the incident, requesting medical support for the cub, just in case. It had been a close call, a fight for life played out in a matter of minutes. In the Serengeti, where predator and prey are in constant motion, it was a rare moment where humans stepped into the wild's brutal rhythm and tipped the scale. Just enough. The forest slowly fell silent again as the python disappeared into the undergrowth, its long body vanishing like smoke through the thick brush. The danger had passed. The lioness rushed to her cub, nudging it with her nose, licking its fur frantically. The cub was breathing, its sides rising and falling quickly, chest heaving from exhaustion and shock. Its eyes were half open, dazed but conscious. The marks from the python's coils were clear, red indentations along its torso, but no bones seemed broken. It was alive. The rangers stepped closer, cautiously. The lioness growled low, protective and on edge. One of the rangers raised a calming hand, speaking in a soft voice, steady and firm. The lioness hesitated, then slowly stepped back, staying close, but allowing the humans to approach. Two of the rangers knelt beside the cub and began a quick assessment. They checked for internal injuries, cleaned surface wounds, and monitored the cub's breathing. One of them wrapped a soft cloth around its body to ease the pressure and keep it warm. The cub winced but didn't resist. They worked quickly but carefully. Though the cub was small, it was still a wild animal, and they had to respect its limits. The lioness never took her eyes off them. After a few minutes, the team made a decision. The cub needed to be taken to the nearest ranger station for observation. It was stable, but vulnerable. Out here, another predator, another surprise, could turn recovery into tragedy. One ranger prepared the transport crate, a ventilated, padded box designed for situations just like this. With practiced movements, they gently lifted the cub, keeping it supported at all times. The lioness tensed as they carried it toward the crate, growling louder now, pacing. Then something remarkable happened. One of the rangers knelt in front of her, met her gaze, and nodded. It wasn't words, but something in the energy was understood. The lioness stood still, ears twitching, eyes locked on her cub as the team closed the crate. They carried the cub to the patrol vehicle, loaded it carefully, and radioed the station again. Within minutes, the truck was moving, dust kicking up behind it as it sped across the open plains toward help. Back in the clearing, the lioness stood alone, watching the truck until it vanished in the distance. She waited a while longer, pacing, then slowly turned back toward the pride. Her instincts told her she had done what she could. The humans, strange allies, had saved her cub. At the ranger station later that day, the cub was resting in a quiet room. Monitored closely, it had been given fluids, cleaned up, and was now sleeping soundly. Its chest rose steadily, its breathing no longer shallow. The rescue had been a success. Against the odds, the little lion had survived the grip of one of Africa's deadliest predators, and it had lived to see another sunrise on the Serengeti. The story of the lion cub's rescue quickly spread beyond the Serengeti. Shared by tourists, rangers, and conservation groups, it made its way across social media and news platforms around the world. The image of a tiny, injured cub in the arms of wildlife rangers, just moments after surviving a deadly encounter, touched hearts everywhere. People were moved, not just by the drama of the rescue, but by what it represented. This was not a fairy tale. It was a glimpse into the raw, unforgiving reality of the wild. In nature, life and death hang in a fragile balance. The Serengeti, for all its beauty, is also a place of constant danger, where survival is never guaranteed. One moment, the cub was playing in the grass. The next, it was fighting for its life. But beyond the danger and violence, the story also revealed something deeply human: courage, compassion, and quiet heroism. The wildlife rangers who stepped in didn't hesitate. They knew the risks. A full-grown python can strike fast, and a lioness defending her cub is nothing to take lightly. Yet the rangers moved forward, focused only on saving a life. They didn't do it for cameras or headlines. It was their duty, and they did it with skill, speed, and heart. Their actions reminded the world of the vital role conservation teams play. These men and women, often working in remote and dangerous environments, are the invisible backbone of wildlife protection. They patrol vast areas, respond to emergencies, and work tirelessly to protect animals from both natural threats and human ones: poaching, habitat loss, conflict. They are not celebrities. They don't seek attention, but without them, countless animals would die unseen, unheard. This story put a spotlight on these everyday heroes and the impact they have on the world's most vulnerable creatures. It also served as a powerful reminder of nature's duality. The wilderness is breathtaking, majestic landscapes, rich biodiversity, moments of stunning beauty, but it is also brutal. A place where predators lurk, and even the smallest mistake can mean death. In this harsh rhythm, every creature, big or small, plays a part, and every one of them deserves a chance to live. The story of the lion cub did more than inspire. It sparked conversations about coexistence, about the need for more support for conservation efforts, and about our responsibility to protect the natural world. It showed that life in the wild is not just about survival, it's about resilience, instinct, and the rare moments when human compassion meets raw nature. In the end, the cub's survival was more than a lucky escape. It was a symbol that even in the fiercest corners of the earth, empathy can make a difference.
Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please comment 1. And if you didn't, just hit like. See you in the next videos.